Let's talk about feedback. I'll start by asking you a question. Do you know what your boss thinks of you and your work? Does she have any concerns about you? Is she aware of your own concerns? If you're like most people, you'd probably like to receive a lot more feedback from your manager or boss. But you're probably also guilty of not giving enough feedback to those who report directly to you. So right now I'm going to teach you how to do that using the feedback model. This is probably one of the most effective tools that you can use in communicating with your team members, coworkers, and really anybody. So first of all, what is feedback? Feedback is when you show someone the impact of his or her actions or behaviors. When you give positive feedback, you encourage them to continue their effective behaviors, while corrective feedback encourages them to stop or change their ineffective or bad behavior. But most of us don't give feedback nearly enough, even though we know we should. Why not? I see three major reasons. The first reason is the fear of conflict. We may want to avoid what could become an unpleasant situation that could create even more problems for us. A second reason is that we forget to thank people when they do a good job, but as a result we miss a lot of opportunities to give positive feedback to people who really deserve praise and who would benefit from it. But probably the main reason we don't give feedback more often is that we just don't know how to do it. So here are the 4 steps of giving feedback for you to learn. You'll see that they're both simple and powerful. Step 1, ask permission to give the feedback. You should always ask. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be positive or corrective. This gives the other person a chance to mentally prepare for it, because ambush feedback is not effective and it's not acceptable. Step 2, describe their behavior. Notice I said that you describe their behavior, not their attitude, not their intent, and not their motivation. You can't guess at those things. Behavior is what you can actually see and hear, so that's what you describe, and that's the part that counts anyway. Step 3, describe the impact of that behavior. This is where you tell them the result of their actions, whether it's positive or negative. The impact you describe doesn't have to be big, but it should tie directly to the behavior you just mentioned. And step 4, discuss their future behavior. When you're giving positive feedback, this is where you tell them thanks and to keep up the good work. When it's corrective feedback, you encourage them to do it differently in the future. Now I'll give you a couple of examples using the 4 steps I just described. Here's an example of giving positive feedback. Mike, can I share something with you? Thanks. Yesterday I watched you being extra patient with that customer who came in so upset, and here's what I saw happen as a result. He calmed right down and even apologized for being so angry. Then he gave us the highest customer service rating with a special note of thanks to you personally. You did a great job on that, Mike. Keep up the good work. And now here's an example of giving corrective feedback. Bill, can I give you some feedback? Thanks. I noticed that you've been late to work 4 times this week, and when you do that, here's what happens. It creates extra work for the other guys who have to cover for you. Plus, it gives the impression that you're getting special treatment, and it creates hard feelings, including my own. We can't have that here, Bill. What can you do differently so that it doesn't happen again? So there you have it. The feedback model is simple, straightforward, and very effective. And by the way, I recommend that you always follow the 9-to-1 rule, where you give positive feedback 9 times as often as you give corrective feedback. Too often, it's the other way around. Here's what I can promise as you make the feedback model a regular part of your managing. You'll see improved work performance by your people, plus it'll create a much more positive atmosphere in your workplace. Now let's go take a test to make sure that you understand the feedback model.